Have you ever wondered how teachers can explain the meaning of English words to complete beginners? For example, how would you teach the word book to a child who knows no English? There are different ways to do this, and two traditional methods that give us an interesting contrast are the grammar translation method and the direct method. The Grammar Translation Method, or GTM, is a traditional language teaching method that focuses heavily on grammar, vocabulary, reading, writing, and translation. In this method, the learner's native language is an important resource. For example, if I want to teach the word book, I might simply say book means kitab. The learner already understands the concept of a book, so I'm using their native language to create a connection between the English word and its meaning. I can also teach a sentence like, the boy is reading a book. I might translate it into the learner's native language and explain the grammar. Now let's teach the same word using the direct method. Instead of saying book means kitab, I can take an actual book and show it to the students. I say book, then this is a book. I can show different books and repeat the word. I can also use the book to create more language. Open the book, close the book. This is a red book. Here, I'm not giving the meaning through Urdu or another native language. I'm helping students understand the meaning directly through the target language and the context. The teacher can use real objects, pictures, gestures, actions, demonstrations, and simple target language sentences to make meaning clear. Is GTM useful for beginners? This is an interesting question. If a learner has absolutely no exposure to English, their native language can be a very useful resource. For example, apple, save. The learner immediately understands the meaning. However, this does not mean that we need to translate every single word forever. We can use the native language as a temporary support or scaffold and gradually increase the amount of English. For example, apple, save. Then this is an apple. Then I have an apple. Then the apple is red. Eventually, the learner can understand and use apple without needing the Urdu translation. So the question isn't simply should we use the native language or not. A better question is how can we use the native language strategically to support learning. Although GTM can help learners understand vocabulary and grammar, knowing translations and grammar rules does not necessarily mean that learners can communicate effectively. A student might know the grammar rule for he goes to school. They might be able to translate it perfectly, but can they use the sentence naturally in a conversation? They require communicative practice, and this is one reason why later language teaching approaches placed greater emphasis on speaking, listening, interaction, and meaningful communication. The direct method reminds us that learners can understand a lot through objects, actions, pictures, demonstrations, and context. GTM reminds us that the learner's native language can also be a valuable resource, particularly when learners are complete beginners. The important thing is to use these tools thoughtfully rather than treating one technique as suitable for every learner and every situation.